Welcome back to Behind the Caution Tape. I'm your host, CrashLit, and I'm recording a bit earlier than usual here in University Park, LA, and that's because it's game day today. That's why I'm wearing my football jersey for men's basketball night, but we'll get to them later. First, let's take a live look. Well, it won't be live technically by the time this airs, but live for me right now as I'm recording into women's soccer, who's currently playing in their quarterfinal matchup against 8th seeded Ohio State in the Big Ten tournament. Buckeyes 10th in the country, USC 4th, but 0-0 now with 26 minutes left in the game. So we'll see. No score. Can the Trojans make something happen and not get this game done in regulation and not have to go into extra time? We will see what happens. We'll check in on them throughout the episode. Meanwhile, now let's get into just everything going on this week. And everything that happened last week and everything that's going to happen this week. So let's start with one team I forgot to mention last week, and apologies to the rowing team. They took part in their head of the American in Lake Natoma up in California, which is hosted by Sacramento State. So that was their first event of the year. And their next race is the USC-UCLA duel on March 8th at the Port of Los Angeles. Meanwhile, beach volleyball took part in the BVNE collegiate preseason tournament at the Santa Monica Pier over the weekend, and not sure if they have any other fall preseason events or if that is it, and still no schedule updates for the spring. Anything that comes out, we will make sure to keep you informed right here on Behind the Caution Tape. Meanwhile, the baseball team announced their fall schedule on Halloween, so last Thursday. They played at Long Beach State on November 2nd. I don't have any updates on that, but I am planning on going to their game at Pepperdine this upcoming Sunday, November 10th, which with first pitch at 1 p.m. And they'll also have the Cardinal Gold World Series to close out the fall season by the end of November, but dates, times, and locations are all TBA still. Men's volleyball, meanwhile, has announced on both the athletics website and then the social media. They initially put it up but took it down, so I'm not sure if there's any logistics, possibly. I'm not sure, but there has been an announcement for the fall schedule and the season schedule. As we mentioned, they will start the season on January 9th. But then anyways, their first fall action was over the weekend on Saturday when they hosted the USC fall tournament. And they went 3-3 with wins over Concordia, CSUN, and UC Santa Barbara, and lost to Pepperdine, UCLA, and Stanford. So definitely, I think, some work to do for this team, but they got a lot of time to prepare. So far, I think there was supposed to be something about in both the online release about the MPSF versus Big West, but is supposed to be happening next week in the Galen Center Pavilion, but not on November 9th. But it's been taken off the schedule website, so I'm not sure if it's canceled or closed to the public. Anything I find out, I'll make sure to report on. Otherwise, their next action that is open to the public, at least according to what I'm seeing online, is the UCLA fall tournament which will take place on November 22nd and 23rd all day. And then other than that, then their next fall action or their start of the season will be against Damon on January 9th, first serve at 7 p.m. in the Galen Center Pavilion. But we'll get to all that more as the season approaches. Meanwhile, our next team on the list to talk about is cross country. So they had a tough women's cross country, a tough Big Ten meet. They came in 18th of 18 overall, and the Oregon Ducks would go on to win the Big Ten championship for cross country. So next up for the team is the NCAA West Regionals, set to start on November 15th at the Colfax Golf Course in Colfax, Washington. Women's golf, meanwhile, won the East Lake Cup from last week from October 20th through October 30th at the East Lake Golf Club in Atlanta. They came in first place in the stroke play to give them the number 1 seed, hit 6 under par, 282 total for match play. And congrats to Jasmine Koo for winning her 3rd straight individual title. So she is on a three-peat. But anyways, on to the match play. USC beat rivals UCLA, so, 4's down on Tuesday to advance to the finals against LSU. And then they beat LSU on Wednesday, 3.5 to 1.5 to win the East Lake Cup. And so that's it for them in the fall season. So we'll check back in with them in February when they take part in the Therese Hessian Regional Challenge at Palos Verdes Golf Club from February 2nd to 4th. And even though it's in Palos Verdes, for some reason, at least according to the website, it appears to be hosted by Ohio State. But I will get more info on that and get back to you likely next semester as women's golf resumes. But that is it for their fall action according to their schedule. Men's tennis, meanwhile, took part in the Jack Kramer Classic in the Rolling Hills Estates at the Jack Kramer Club from on November 1st and 2nd. They were supposed to play on the 3rd as well, but the final day was canceled due to rain. And two players went for the team. Niels Hoffman and Tristan Bradley beat Oregon in doubles, but lost to Oregon on singles. But then the following day on Saturday, they beat San Diego State in doubles and singles. So finally up for this team are the final qualifying events, with Hoffman taking part in the ITA Masters Championship from November 7th through 10th at the Rome Tennis Club in Rome, Georgia. And Peter Mack and Carl Lee will take part in the ITA Sectional Championships from November 7th through 10th at the Ralph Strauss Tennis Center in Malibu. Women's tennis, meanwhile, was also taking part in the Jack Kramer Classic. They had same days, however, no matches due to the rain on the Saturday, with 4 players going. Maya Sung and Sloan Moore beat Cal State Fullerton in doubles, while Simone Kay and Jana Hossam beat a UCLA Fresno State duo in doubles, and then Hossam and Mora won their singles matches over Cal State Fullerton, and then Sung beat UCLA, and Kay beat the Fresno State player. Sung beat the UCLA player, to clarify. And then on Sunday, Sung and Mora beat UC Santa Barbara in doubles, with Kay and Hossam also winning in doubles. And then Sung and Kay won their singles matches against UC Santa Barbara, while Mora and Hossam lost their singles matches to the Gauchos. Up next is the final qualifying event of the individual season. It's the ITA Sectional Championships, which happen to be taking place here on campus at the David X. Marks Tennis Stadium. They'll be viewable on the USC Play site, and players participating are most of the team, actually, it appears, based on some research I did. So Emma Charney, Parker Fry, Amy Haddad, Jana Hossam, Simone Kay, Sloan Mora, Anya Murthy, Grace Piper, and Maya Sung. So that is what is coming up. So good luck to the tennis teams this week. Men's basketball, meanwhile, will open up their regular season with a matchup against Chattanooga today, actually. So tip off on 7 p.m. That game will be viewable on the Big Ten Network. USC also hosts Idaho State on Thursday at 7 p.m. on Big Ten Plus. So these are crucial for USC to just start strong and get people drawn in, especially just Eric Musselman now at the helm. And Muss, big energy guy, no doubt in my mind. If you've probably seen the clip, but if you haven't, go just look up Eric Musselman takes shirt off after big win or something like that, or just Eric Musselman takes shirt off. Like there's I think was it they beat Kansas? Don't quote me on, but after big games, he's known for just going on, celebrating with fans and just ripping his shirt off and just waving it around. So we'll see what happens. And I think these are just I think the crucial guys, as I've mentioned in the past couple of weeks, based on what I saw against UTSA and Gonzaga, are going to be Desmond Claude and St. Thomas. And one thing I think that's cool that the Legion's trying to do is do a rowdy row of like the most dedicated student fans. And I'm hoping to get to be a part of that. Reached out to the Legion about it, but hopefully trying to do that, especially because I'm trying to not miss any games this year. We'll just see how that goes, but bet on making them all if I can, and hoping definitely to, get some more posters up in my room. I'll probably have some up today from the men's and women's teams by the end of the week. So you'll see them. Maybe we'll see them. I got to figure out where I'm going to put them in the room, just where they fit with the backdrop of everything behind me. So that's what's going on with the men's team. Best luck to them. I will be at both the matches this week. Meanwhile, the women's basketball team, last week it just seemed like there wasn't a day without Juju Watkins, Kiki Iriafen, Talia von Oelhoffen, or Rhea Marshall not stacking up preseason awards for USC, who's pre-ranked number 3 in the AP poll. And their season actually tipped off about literally right before I started recording earlier today in the Aflac We Play game against number 20 Ole Miss that started at 9, finished about 30 minutes ago, I think, if I'm not mistaken, on ESPN. And that was in Paris, by the way. So it was definitely cool. I was able to watch most of it. USC won it 68-66. It was definitely a battle the whole time. It was a very physical game. USC did get up to by 15 at one point, but the Rebels battled back and even took the lead near the end. But overall, my biggest thing for this team, and I'm confident it can be done. Lindsey Gottlieb's an amazing coach. It's a great team. I think they're going to be better than last year. Is USC needs to cut down on the turnovers. They had 26. That's not good. I'm confident it can change, but that number needs to come down a lot. But the team was spending the last few days in Paris, so it seems like they were able to fully adjust to the time. But it looked like a pretty cool environment overall, getting to play in Paris, and just seemed like a really amazing experience for the team. And then yeah, so the starting lineup was Juju Watkins, Kiki Iriafen, Talia von Oelhoffen, Rhea Marshall, and then freshman Kennedy Smith got the final spot. I feel like it's kind of seemed like she was going to be one of the contenders for that spot, but it could have. I feel like it could have been kind of anyone on the team, and it wouldn't have gone wrong. We'll see what Gottlieb decides to do in the Trojans' next game this week, when they will host Cal Poly at 2 p.m. on Saturday, which will be shown on Big Ten Plus. USC did play the Mustangs last year and just destroyed them 85-44. So definitely after a tough game against Ole Miss, it'll be good for USC to just come back and just, really be able to experiment, get a lot of players playing, especially just how young this team is. I mean, yes, you have Juju Watkins, you got Rhea Marshall, Clarice Akinwafo, Kiki Iriafen, and Talia von Oelhoffen, and bunch of players who've been in the system for a year, just veteran players in college basketball. But it'll be good for, I think, all these freshmen to get their feet wet and really just get reps on the court this weekend. So that'll be another great game to be at for sure. Soccer, meanwhile, has not played since beating UCLA last week, but they are now. But let's actually go back and take another live look. About 18 and a half minutes left. USC with a corner kick, so we'll stay with them, and I'll just report on what happens briefly before I go back to talking about just Big Ten awards. So yeah, here we go. Kick is in, and it's in play, and ball's out of bounds. So it'll be a goal kick, Ohio State now. USC unable to score there. We'll check back in with them momentarily. I'll definitely try to keep giving you these updates throughout it while we're still recording and going through everything. But a big congratulations now. So USC stacking the Big Ten awards. So congrats to Coach Jane Alukonis on Coach of the Year, midfielder Elena Sampaio on Midfield of the Year, and goalkeeper Lorenz Gladue on Goalkeeper of the Year. So three top. So obviously Sampaio and Gladue made a Big Ten first team, along with Miley Hayes and Brooklyn Courtnell. Maria Alagoa made the second team. Simone Jackson and Kayla Colbert won the third team. And Inez Darian and Faith George made the freshman team. So really impressive showing from the Trojans. And it looks like Ohio State actually just kicked out of bounds. Kind of caught my eye. It looked like USC was driving. And do they have a throw in, or is it going to be a corner kick? Can't tell. But anyways, so I'll keep trying to do live look-ins like this, at least for me anyway, so you can just see what's going on. Because I'm reacting, everything I report on, it's based on where it's at when I'm recording the episode. So I start around 11:30, so recording. So we'll see. So USC's got a corner kick right now. So we will definitely keep you there for a minute while we see if USC can capitalize on this one. Here goes the kick. And looks like it got into the hands of the Ohio State goalkeeper. So definitely, really, we'll see how this game goes. Could be a lot like last game when the Trojans beat the Buckeyes at BMO Stadium 1-0, and it came down to a late score by Simone Jackson. So definitely, yeah, this is going to be a great game. Ohio State's a good team. The reason they're ranked 10th in the country, and Big Ten's a competitive league, as you can tell, just from how things are going. That was Maria Alagoa who took the corner kick just now. So Trojans inbound it, and we'll check back in with them later. So yeah, anyways, team is now currently ranked 4th in the country, and I expect the Trojans to probably hold, since they didn't play last week. 14-1-2 record, 10-0-1 overall in Big Ten play. Currently playing Ohio State at the campus of University of Minnesota. That game started at 10 a.m. Pacific time on Big Ten Plus, which is how I'm watching it. And it was originally supposed to be yesterday, bumped back today due to bad weather. And as I mentioned, USC beat Ohio State 1-0 at BMO Stadium on October 17th. With a win, USC is into the semifinals at City Park in St. Louis, Missouri on November 7th. So that's Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific time on the Big Ten Network. And they will face number 5 Rutgers, who beat number 4 Michigan State earlier today. Please note these are just the Big Ten seeds for the tournament. So yeah, USC still trying to get that first goal and get back into it. But we'll move on to men's water polo and come back with another update in a few minutes. So men's water polo went 1-1 on the weekend up at the Bay Area schools. Lost at number 2 Stanford 15-9 on Saturday. Won at number 7 Cal 17-15 in overtime. 5 different players had goals against Stanford, but on Sunday against Cal, Max Miller and Robert Lopez Duarte had 4 goals each against Cal. So Trojans are now 17-4, 2-3. They're currently ranked tied second with Stanford, but they'll probably drop down into third. Stanford will hold at number 2 on their own due to the loss. And USC will finish with the 3rd seed in MPSF play, and they will be the 5th in the MPSF West, which guarantees them the 5th seed in the MPSF tournament, which will be hosted by UCLA, who will win the MPSF West. Trojans still do have to face UCLA and definitely need to get that dub in the Crosstown Showdown rematch in Westwood in a couple of weeks. But this week they will face UC Santa Barbara on the road on Saturday at 12 p.m. And that game can be watched on ESPN Plus. Gauchos are 14-10 on the year, but USC should not overlook them, especially just want to get some victories coming back into it. It looks like moving back to soccer real quick. Now I've gotten through water polo. It looks like USC's got a free kick. So we'll stay with this. About just over 11 minutes left in the second half. Still no score. Maria Algoa to take a free kick, so we'll see what happens here. Or his indirect kick, pardon me. That one's going to sail over the goal, so goal kick for the Buckeyes. But anyways, let's now move on to football. So I actually went up to UW for the weekend with my friend Austin. We flew out Friday evening, got back Sunday morning in time for women's volleyball. I'll get into them in a sec. But yeah, it was great to see so many people I knew at both USC and UW, people I know from high school. Husky Stadium was more hostile than I thought, but it was really cold. Like, it was cold in Autzen last year, and I thought that was cold. I mean, my hand got cold from doing a victory sign all game like this on 3rd down, especially because you don't want to scream with the Husky fans when they're booing USC when the Trojans are on offense. So you just got to do this the whole time. But yeah, so definitely second quarter it rained, so everyone went into the stayed indoors during halftime before coming out. When fortunately it stopped rain, wasn't too bad. Definitely, made sure to have some layers in my bag, but overall it was fine. But overall it was a really, really fun trip. But yeah, definitely I won't deny that this has been frustrating for USC and fans, obviously. And I know there's a lot of criticism going on to Riley right now, but I feel like he is right about USC being close. Yes, it is frustrating that USC has been up in the 4th quarter of every game this season, win or lose. But I think he's right that if a few things go right, USC could be 9-0. That's a fair point he's making, so I'll give him that. But still, I do wish the offensive attack would be more balanced, especially when you're facing the number 1 pass defense, and give Woody Marks and Quentin Joyner their more touches on the ball. Get USC's run game working. It's their best weapon, in my opinion. So USC, I think, should be exploiting that more. And it was definitely, I'll admit, it was frustrating to see those 4th and goal situations not work out. And credit to the UW defense for holding there at the end. I know there are calls for Jane Maeva to play over Miller Moss, but I think we got to back, no matter what Lincoln Riley and this team coaching staff decides, we need to stay supportive of that decision. However, I do agree with the idea that one of them is likely gone depending on what Riley does. I think if Miller Moss is the starter, considering he's got 1 more year and will probably need it, I don't see why Jade Maeva would stay around another year. I think he'd skip town. But I also think if Maeva were to, get the nod and take over from Moss, maybe Moss goes elsewhere for his final year. I know he's been very loyal, and I think we respect that, but I feel like you couldn't blame him if he knows he probably wouldn't play and wants 1 more shot at it before he runs out of college eligibility. So we'll see what happens with that. But definitely, I think this bye. So USC is now 4-5 on the year, 2-5 in Big Ten. Bye week this week, and I think it's going to be good for this team to just have it before what's going to turn into a final tough stretch to try to clinch a bowl game with 3 games left. You got Nebraska. Yes, they're faltering, but they've played very good at times. UCLA seems to suddenly be finding a groove now after winning a few games. So I think that game's going to be tougher than expected. Seems like Deshaun Foster on the other side of town is doing a good job of motivating his guys. So we'll see what happens there. But I overall think that USC has a chance in all these games. And then, of course, Notre Dame, that's going to be a tough one. The Fighting Irish are good. So USC, so fans definitely, no matter what things are looking like, need to show up at the Coliseum for all these games, get to the Rose Bowl too, and just we need to go support this team for these final 3 games. Excuse me there. And USC Nebraska, that game earlier, right before I hopped on, was announced for a 1 p.m. kickoff on Fox on November 16th. So start making your plans now. We'll take another live looking at soccer. 8.5 minutes left here. Trojans trying to make something happen. Looks like we'll see. We'll watch this offensive drive, and I'll tell you about women's volleyball, and then probably get close to calling it an episode and give you one more live look. So we'll see what happens there. Another goal kick for the Buckeyes here. But anyway, so yeah, on to women's volleyball. They got a 3-0 sweep at UCLA on Halloween, and then a 3-1 win over UW on November 3rd, which, as I mentioned, I was back in time for. We'll start with UCLA. So Allie Batenhorst led with 16 kills against UCLA, and overall, USC just dominated the match from start to finish for the most part, and easily the best match of the year. And the thing I love most about this team is when they lose or they lose a match or a set they shouldn't, I love how just angry and dominant they come playing. I feel like that kind of just they just come out angry and they're just wanting to prove people wrong. And yeah, so I was, though, genuinely surprised, even though, yes, it was Halloween and people and students anyways had plans. I was surprised that UCLA, there weren't more fans. Like UCLA's band wasn't even there. So it was very minimal crowd. So it definitely did give the Trojans a good fan advantage. And yes, I did wear this Star-Lord mask during the episode on my head like this throughout it. It's not kind of working right now, but yeah, just wanted to show what I was wearing. Part of that had to do with the fact that I asked my Instagram followers if I should wear this with a full game day fit to school before that. And so the majority said yes. So my hands were tied. And then I just ended up just wearing it for the game match as well. So that's that. We'll see that next year, I guess, or something else. I'll figure it out when Halloween next rolls around. We got time there. But anyways, so yeah, definitely a solid match overall from the Trojans. And then against UW, Austin was there with me. Fun match as well. A 3-1 win. Jaden Livings led the way with 12 kills, and multiple players had big aces, and Mia Twidniga, I think, really spread the ball around well, but also has been utilizing her dump well. Something I think last year it's working out better because she has more reliable options than she did last year, and it was really it seemed like mainly Skylar Fields and then occasionally dumping. She's doing a great job utilizing everything, all her hitters, and kind of all those tricky plays that she can come up with. Then obviously just overall is just a great match. I do think USC should not have lost that third match, but just like that UCLA match, after how last week went with the reverse sweep loss, which was the worst loss of the season by the Trojans, and then the loss to Penn State. I really liked how the Trojans also just responded in that fourth set and just came out angry and won 25-15. So it was just an overall just great dominating performance by the Trojans on the weekend for the most part. Then afterwards, that was really my only complaint from the game, but just love the anger and energy of this team. And then yeah, people were kind of impressed that I was back in time for it, considering they saw on my Instagram I was in Seattle, and I was just like, we fully gamed it out to where we flew out Friday night, and then Sunday after the game, after we kind of hung out Friday night, we just were like, all right, we're getting on that first 7 a.m. flight out of Seattle back to LA, and we pulled it off. So that's how that went down. And then, yeah, also I did, even though I was planning on, I did run into Coach Brad Keller at Rock and Riley's last week, and he was like, I was telling him, yeah, I'm going to Seattle for football, but I will be back. He's like, oh, you bet. I'm like, don't worry, Coach, I will be there. So definitely a little more pressure. Not that was gonna change the outcome of anything. And after the match, so we got home by 9, and then yeah, got in time. So yeah, then afterwards they did post-game autographs. Got a caution tape retired. For those of you watching on YouTube, it's that lowest one in that second row. That is the one that got autographed. So it was just fun, catch up with the players, chat with them, and just kind of get to get those. So that's all those headbands there. Those have been retired because they've been autographed by different teams. So I think that's the third one the women's volleyball team has autographed for me. But anyways, USC. Let's get an update. Actually, see if I can have any updates for you all on the AVCA rankings. Nothing yet. USC did drop to 21st after going 0-2 last week. I expect they'll jump back into the top 20. I'd say 19th or 18th, I think, considering the wins. But now on to next week, they'll face Illinois, and they're now 16-6 on the year, 8-4 in Big Ten play, alone at 7th in Big Ten among the Big Ten teams. They're at Illinois, who's 15-7, 7-5 at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time on Thursday on Big Ten Plus. And then they also face Indiana, who is 12-10 and 5-7 at, or actually, pardon me, I have those times wrong on here. Illinois is at 3 p.m. Pacific time. Indiana's at 1 on Friday, and Indiana is 1 p.m. on Sunday. So apologies there. And I definitely think this Indiana match is going to be interesting because there's so many personal USC IU connections. So outside hitter and defensive specialist Greg Gosnell did her undergrad at IU. And while USC associate head coach Spencer McLaughlin was at IU for a year in the same role before coming to USC. And then former setter Emily Fitzner did her undergrad at IU and then masters at USC and played both indoor and beach. So she got to be part of a natty. But it does go the other way too with former USC beach star Delaney Maple, a 4-time natty national champion, now at Indiana for her masters and final year playing indoor. So it'll definitely be a very intriguing match for all those reasons. Fitzner's out of eligibility. She actually just went pro, got signed to a pro team. So congrats to her. The big deal. So I definitely think it'll just be interesting seeing all those connections that just these two schools have kind of with each other. So we'll take another look. It looks like USC's got a free kick. Wasn't sure what. I was viewing my notes. But yeah, so it looks like USC's got a free kick here. And it appears that Molly McDougall is going to take it. Or we'll see. Or maybe it's Brooklyn Courtnall. I'm trying to figure out if it's a direct or indirect kick. 3 minutes, about 3.5 minutes left in the game. McDougall will take it, and it's going to go into it, and it'll be saved by Ohio State and the goalkeeper there. So yeah, we'll do one more look as I talk about just kind of my record and plans for the week. So my record last week, I went 2-1. So both volleyball wins and then the football loss. So that puts me to 22-7 on the season, 234-89 all time. So my plans for the week are going to be men's basketball versus Chattanooga tonight, men's basketball versus Idaho State on Thursday, women's basketball versus Cal Poly on Saturday. I think I'm going to go check out that fall ball game at Pepperdine on Sunday. I kind of like to just keep up with this baseball team, kind of see how the fall ball season is going. So that is kind of my plan for the week. Give you one last look at this. The game will still be going on Big Ten Plus before we wrap up. About 2.5 minutes left. USC trying to make one final offensive push before the second half ends, and this game will go into extra time. So that is going to do it for us here at Behind the Caution Tape today. Thank you again to everybody who's been listening, subscribing, and just enjoying these episodes. It's been a ton of fun. Make sure to follow me at CrashLit on all platforms, Instagram, X, YouTube, TikTok, where you can see all my content, everything I'm doing, everything I'm at. And make sure to just, if you see me, come say hi to me, and love to chat with you as always. So thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. Look forward to seeing you all next week, and fight on.